The Little Red Hen tries rational selfishness. The Little Red Hen went to the library and looked up books on ethics. There she found that ethics was a code of values to guide your life's choices. She had already investigated utilitarianism, altruism, and deontological ethics in the form of the Ten Commandments, and found that none of them were able to help her make practical choices in life. In an obscure corner of the library, she found a misfiled book on rational selfishness, The Virtue of Selfishness by Ayn Rand. She found that the mainstream media and academia all derided rational selfishness. But as she read about it, she found that the virtue of rational selfishness was that it was built on biological reality. In other words, it was built on the biological facts underlying all living organisms and the particulars of human biology. As she headed home, she was excited to try out the ideas of rational selfishness on the farm to help improve the lives of everyone on the farm. As she wandered home, she thought, "We're running out of food. I should go out and look for some food." Then she contemplated whether going to look for food was ethical or not. Under rational selfishness, your life is your standard of value. Since food is necessary to sustain your life, it must be ethical to obtain food, she reasoned. As she approached the farm, she saw the pig, and she thought, "I'll ask Professor Pig if he'll help me go find some food." The pig was a professor at the local university and very smart, which he reminded her of often. The pig asked, "What did you learn at the library, Little Red Hen?" Little Red Hen excitedly told the pig about how she'd learned that ethics was a code of values to guide your life's choices. Rational selfishness was an ethical philosophy built on the biological realities of human beings. The pig scowled and turned up his nose and said, "I live for others. I'm not selfish." The Little Red Hen asked the pig, "Do you eat?" The pig looked perplexed and said, "Of course I eat." The Little Red Hen asked, "Do you eat for yourself or do you eat for other people?" "Obviously, I can't eat for other people." The Little Red Hen said, "Isn't that being selfish? Couldn't you have given that food away to other people since you're living for other people?" The pig puffed up his chest and said, "I don't have time for this nonsense. I'm preparing a march for free housing, which I'm doing to help other people since I have housing myself." The Little Red Hen asked, "Who's going to pay for the free housing?" The pig said, "The point is that it's free." The Little Red Hen pointed out, "It's impossible to have free housing. Someone has to build it. Someone has to pay for it." "Are you going to make these people work for free?" The pig sneered, but the Little Red Hen continued, "If you're giving away free housing, that means that someone else has to pay for it. Those people are slaves." The pig complained, "They're not slaves. We'll all get to vote on this." The Little Red Hen responded, "So if we all vote that certain people should be slaves, then that's not slavery?" The pig said, "You're so stupid, Little Red Hen. You know nothing about ethics." The Little Red Hen wasn't put off by this and asked the pig, "Will you help me go find some food?" The pig said, "No, I told you that I'm doing something very important. I'm organizing a march for free housing." So the Little Red Hen approached the duck. The duck said, "I saw you talking to Professor Pig. What were you talking about?" "I told him about the ethics of rational selfishness, and I asked him if he would be willing to go help find some food because we're running low on food." The duck said, "Well, Professor Pig is very smart. What did he say?" "He said he was preparing a march for free housing, so he would not help me go find food." The duck said, "So my choices are to go with Professor Pig to march for free housing or to help you find food for us on the farm. What would rational selfishness say is ethical?" The Little Red Hen responded, "Under rational selfishness, your standard of value is your own life. You have to eat in order to stay alive, so you have to obtain food, making it ethical. Whereas going for a march for free housing means that you are, in fact, asking other people to pay for someone's housing, which is either stealing or slavery, which is not ethical under rational selfishness or most other ethical systems. Well, Professor Pig is very smart, but I want to be ethical. I do not want to support stealing from other people or slavery. I'll help you go find some food. So the little red hen and the duck wandered off to ask the dog if he would help them find some food. As they approached, the dog asked, "What were you talking to Professor Pig about?" The little red hen explained how they discussed rational selfishness and how the professor was organizing a march for free housing. The little red hen pointed out that free housing by definition meant that you were pushing slavery or theft. The dog said, "Well, I don't want to be a thief and I don't want to be a slave. I'll help you find some food." The little red hen, the dog, and the duck all went out into the field to look for some food. As they wandered through the field, the smell of the fresh spring grass and warm sun made them all happy. The little red hen stumbled across some wheat kernels. He called to the duck and the dog, "Look, here's some wheat kernels. We could collect these wheat kernels, plant them, and then we'd have wheat to make some fresh bread." The dog and the duck's mouth watered at the idea of some fresh bread. The dog interjected, "But is it ethical to collect these wheat kernels for ourselves?" The duck rolled her eyes. "We've already been over this. Under rational selfishness, your standard of value is your own life. And since you have to have food in order to sustain your life, yes, it's ethical to collect these wheat kernels." So the three of them all got to work collecting wheat kernels, and in no time they had finished the task. As they headed back to the farm, they saw Professor Pig, decided to ask the pig if he would help them plant the wheat kernels. They all said in unison, "Professor Pig, will you help us plant the wheat kernels so we can grow wheat and make bread?" The pig scoffed at them. "I'm way too busy writing this paper on why college should be tuition free." The little red hen piped in, "Are you going to work for free, Professor Pig?" The pig said no, and the little red hen asked, "Well, then who's going to pay for you?" "Well, I'm going to be paid by the state." "You mean that the state is going to use force to steal money from people in order to pay for your tuition scheme and your salary, which, by the way, will benefit you?" The pig responded, "Yeah, but I'm doing it for the greater good. I'm not doing it for myself. A college education is a public good. And by the way, little red hen, you're being awfully egotistical and self-centered." The little red hen responded, "Pig, I think you're confusing egoism with rational selfishness. I'm not asking anyone to do anything that they wouldn't be willing to do voluntarily, whereas you are willing to use force to demand people do what you want. And you're not practicing altruism, you're practicing egoism. You want everyone to be a slave to your desires." The pig said, "Well, I'm way too busy writing this article to waste my time on the pedestrian matter of planting these wheat kernels. Get out of here." So the little red hen, the duck, and the dog went out and planted the wheat. Over the next several months, the wheat grew into tall grass, and the sun turned it a brilliant golden color. The little red hen, the dog, and the duck all examined the wheat and decided it was time that the wheat could be harvested. They all decided to ask the pig if he wanted to help them harvest the wheat. "Pig, the wheat is ready to be harvested. Will you help us harvest the wheat?" The pig said, "I'm way too busy preparing a class on women's rights." The little red hen asked, "Are women people?" The pig scoffed and said, "Of course women are people. Why aren't they just called rights then?" "Because women feel that they're being discriminated against in the workplace." The little red hen asked, "So what's your solution?" "We demand quotas to force employers to hire more and promote more women." The hen responded, "Isn't that a violation of their right of freedom of association?" The pig responded, "I don't give a damn about their freedom of association, because women have been discriminated against historically." "So two wrongs make a right?" the little red hen asked. Pig said, "You're being so pedantic." The little red hen responded, "Are you going to help us harvest the wheat or not?" The pig snorted, "I'm way too busy for that. Go away." So the little red hen, the duck, and the dog all went off and harvested the wheat. Once the wheat was all harvested, they went to Professor Pig and asked Professor Pig, "Will you help us take the wheat to the mill to be ground into flour?" Professor Pig arrogantly asked, "Are you doing that out of selfishness?" "I am working on organizing a protest for reparations for the indigenous people. I'm being altruistic." The little red hen said, "Who will pay for those reparations?" The pig said, "Taxes, of course." "So you're going to force people to pay for your project? That doesn't sound altruistic. That sounds like egoism. Sounds like you want to be a dictator." With that, the little red hen said, "Let's go." And the little red hen, the duck, and the dog took the wheat to the mill to be ground into flour. When the little red hen, the dog, and the duck returned from the mill with the flour, they were excited to start baking some bread. The dog got the fire going as the little red hen and the duck kneaded the flour into dough and made loaves of bread. When they put the dough in the oven, the smell of the freshly baking bread brought the pig out to the table. The little red hen said, "What are you doing?" "Well, I smelled freshly baked bread, so I'm here to eat bread." The little red hen responded, "You didn't help find the wheat. You didn't plant the wheat. You didn't harvest the wheat. You didn't take it to the mill. You didn't bake the bread. Why do you think you get any bread to eat?" "This is our bread." The pig said, "That's very selfish of you. Property rights are just a social construct." The little red hen responded, "Property rights are based on morality. The morality that if you create something, you own it. And you didn't create anything, so get out of here." The little red hen, the dog, and the duck enjoyed their freshly baked bread and had wheat to make bread all winter long. It was a long winter, and Professor Pig barely had enough to eat. He constantly whined about how he didn't have any food to eat and called them selfish. He argued that the greater good would be to give him some food, which would maximize happiness. But the little red hen was insistent. The pig will never learn that you have to work in order to survive if they gave him bread now. The end. Long live freedom, damn it.